It seems you guys like the remakes I do for Cry of Fear, so I've got another one for you. This time the Asylum level, and I've got quite a lot of new things to show you guys. I'm kinda surprised I haven't done this level yet. There are plenty of things that we can do to make this look even more terrible. I think that the bottom level would suit best, as it has the most going for it, with a staircase, elevator, dirty and grungy walls, along with a $5 knockoff version of the TV girl from The Ring. I found a pretty decent composition straight from the game, so to find the camera angle, I used a program called F-Spy, which allows you to find the exact camera angle just by placing some leading lines around. Importing that sets up a camera with a background image, to which we can then block out the scene, including floors, walls, and the ceiling, and of course extrude the wall where the elevator and staircase are gonna be. Overall, this just makes it much easier than guessing how big everything is. Smaller details such as the staircase are much easier to make. You just take a cube, extrude it out, and then add an array modifier, set it to 0, 1, 1, and then boom, staircase. Although you might have to adjust it a bit. But that's not what's exciting for this render. The special thing we're gonna do is add a boatload of graffiti and grime across the walls. However, there are some challenges to this approach. Usually, when we want to add decals to a wall, we use the import images as planes add-on, and then place them super close to the wall. But in this case, that's simply not possible. Having too many decals close to each other can introduce artifacts from different images mingling with each other. In addition, displacements will make certain parts of the graffiti not visible. There is really only one way to fix this, and that is to bake the decals into the texture itself. So, in order to do this, we need to do something clever. Bear with me on this. First, we'll UV project from view the walls and then adjust them to fit. We then adjust it in the shading tab so the walls look proper again. Now in the shading tab, add an image texture. Click new and set it to 4K resolution and set the alpha to 0. Then add a mix color node and put the base color into A, the graffiti texture into B, and then the alpha into the factor of the mix. I know this looks like wizardry on crack, but don't worry, you don't need to know how it actually works. Just know, this allows us to blend two textures together, one with the actual texture and one with the graffiti. Then we go to texture paint and select texture and click new and stencil. Go to the texture slot and select our graffiti. Now we use the viewport to paint in our graffiti, which allows us to paint in as many decals and images as we would want. This doesn't just work for graffiti, it can also work for grime, blood, dirt, rust, which all in all just makes the environment look like a place I would not want to spend my holiday. Also, did you know that Team Seiskala actually went to the Beckenberger Asylum to get textures for Cry of Fear? It's actually crazy how far this team went in order to get us this amazing game.
James and I being gay inside an abandoned mental hospital called Beckenberger.
Anyway, back to making our fake asylum. The elevator door was actually quite easy to make. I initially wanted to use some basic metal, but since this is a rundown place, I thought a picture would be better. And sure enough, it did. The door was the wrong color though, so in the shading tab, we add a hue and saturation node to shift the color towards blue. Although this does also make the rust appear green, so we have to change that by painting in our own rust. We do still have to model a few things off the door so it isn't flat. But that's mostly just about selecting edges and then extruding them in or outwards to get some more depth. To make it reflect light a little better, we add the image texture to a bump node and into the normal. Be sure to turn it down unless you want it looking like deep fried chicken. Now at KFC, Team Seiskala edition, only $8.99. We still need to add some more grime and dirt, so therefore we add a plane and slap on some leaves texture, to which we then enable displacements and place it underneath the floor. Then add a bunch of loop cuts into the plane and then use sculpting to paint in the leaves through the floor. Of course, it doesn't work if it's just one texture. We also gotta add some dirt and some other bits of gravel. For the smaller details, we can add a railing so that the mentally deranged don't fall down the stairs. Since clean and reflective metal wasn't going to work, I decided just to use some rust instead, which seemed to work decently well. I tried messing with the lighting to see what would fit. since I didn't really have a model of a lamp or similar. I decided that the light should come from the end of the hallway, but it wasn't enough. I needed to make this asylum look even worse, so we added some good old trash to the environment. Some bits of brick debris, some paper, grass, trash, and everything in between. Now this is still based on the Half-Life 1 geometry, so to add my own spice to it, I added some broken glass to the top up here. Just take a plane and make some cuts into it. Give it a glass material and then give it some thickness so it can reflect some light. That suits it for the essentials, but now we gotta give it some more spice, with some glare and lens distortion. Most beginners at this stage tend to add crazy amounts of glare or lens distortion, but the key is really to just keep it simple and subtle. But for the post-production, it's anything but subtle. We gotta make some changes in Lightroom. I've already told you guys what to do previously, but if you want the rundown of how it works and what changes I make, it's essentially increased contrast, noise reduction, clipped highlights, and more. You can see how much of a difference it makes. And there you have it. The most rancid looking asylum I've ever seen. I can practically smell it, although I haven't actually been to the asylum it was based off. Maybe in a few years' time when I have enough money to go get there, I could go there.